Welcome back, audience of My Alpha. Tonight, we gather beneath the weight of silence, beneath the storm you were told would break you, beneath the crushing judgment of a world that never expected you to rise. And yet here you are, breathing, watching, waiting, and victorious in the most unexpected, twisted way. They wrote your ending long ago, didn't they? They told you where your story stops, how the curtain falls, and who would be left clapping. They had your path paved in stone, and your downfall engraved before you even had a chance to speak for yourself. But tonight, you dragged your story off that predictable page and set fire to every word they dared write for you. You, my dear shadowed soul, you pulled off a plot twist they'll never forget. Not because you screamed louder, not because you begged for mercy, but because you became the thing they never imagined, the one who refused to die on cue. You were never supposed to make it this far. You were built to break, manufactured for mediocrity, expected to collapse under the weight of all the betrayals, all the disappointments, all the scars you wear like armor now. But you didn't collapse. You adapted. You didn't scream. You sharpened your silence. You didn't beg. You bled quietly in the dark until your pain turned into a weapon. That wasn't strength they overlooked. That was your evolution. And when they thought they'd buried you under all the reasons you were meant to fail, you didn't stay buried. You became the roots of something darker, something wilder, something relentless. You clawed your way back through the soil with dirt in your teeth and fire in your lungs. You learned to rise like smoke, shapeless, untouchable, impossible to contain. They wanted a tragedy. What they got was a storm, wrapped in skin, vengeance in motion, a soul that doesn't flinch when the universe throws knives. You took every whisper of doubt and carved a new name out of it. Every "you can't," every "you won't," every "you're nothing." You turned it into a battlefield. And you never needed applause. You needed purpose. You needed the pain. Because the pain didn't just shape you. It revealed you. And what it revealed was terrifying to them. Someone who doesn't break properly. Someone who doesn't quit correctly. Someone who doesn't die politely. Understand this. Pulling off a plot twist isn't about theatrics. It's about surviving long enough to be underestimated. It's about becoming fluent in disappointment, fluent in betrayal, fluent in silence, and then using that fluency like a weapon. When they think you're done, when they think you've surrendered, when they stop watching because they're so sure they've won, that is when you rise. Quiet, slow, unforgiving. The plot twist is not the miracle, it's the monster. It's you, refusing to be a footnote in someone else's story. It's you walking back into the fire they left you in and dragging the ashes out with your bare hands. They told you revenge is for the weak, didn't they? That healing is about letting go. But you didn't let go. You transformed. You learned that revenge doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes, the deepest revenge is resurrection. Sometimes, the greatest violence is survival. Let them think you're gone. Let them think you're broken. Let them think you forgot. And then, smile when you show up stronger, colder, and completely unrecognizable. They won't be ready for the new version of you, the one you built from every ounce of abandonment, every shard of heartbreak, every betrayal stitched into your bones. That version doesn't seek validation. That version is the reason people look twice before they speak your name. What they feared wasn't just your potential, it was your refusal to stay silent when silence was safer. It was your decision to stand when kneeling was easier. It was the fire in your eyes the moment you realized no one was coming to save you. So you became your own rescue. You built your wings out of broken things. You built your strength from shadows. You learned to walk through hell barefoot and still manage to keep your soul intact. Do you understand how rare that is? Do you understand what kind of chaos lives in a heart that chooses to keep beating after being shattered? That's not just strength. That's defiance. And defiance, my dear, is divine. When you pulled off your plot twist, you didn't just rewrite the ending. You burned the book. You erased their predictions, shattered their timelines, and smiled through the wreckage. You taught them that sometimes the villain in their story is the hero of their own. That redemption doesn't always come wrapped in light. Sometimes it comes with teeth, with blood, with scars. And every time they look back and try to figure out when you changed, they'll realize you were always this, always powerful, always dangerous. You just stopped hiding it. So when they whisper about you now, and they will, let them. Let them wonder how you survive. Let them fear the silence you walk in. Let them try to recreate the map they lost when you slipped out of their narrative. You owe them nothing. You owe yourself everything. And that plot twist, that twist was never an accident. That twist was your strategy, your vengeance, your masterpiece. And you executed it in the most brilliant, calculated, merciless way possible. By becoming the one they'll never forget. Not because you screamed when you were supposed to be silent, but because you didn't. You became the whisper that crawled under their skin, the breath in the back of their neck, the shadow they never saw move, yet somehow changed everything. They'll remember because you became the one thing they could never control. And deep down, control was all they ever wanted. They wanted to puppet you with guilt, manipulate your spine until it snapped, paint your strength as delusion. But you rewrote the code. You stopped playing their game. And when you did, when you finally did, the rules changed for everyone. You know what real power is? It's not shouting back. It's smiling when they throw stones, knowing each one will build the throne you rise from. It's knowing that the worst day of your life wasn't your defeat. It was your origin story. You were crucified by expectation, mocked by circumstance, chewed up by fate, and spit out into a world that did not know what to do with someone who refused to stay broken. And that confused them. It enraged them. Because when you walk into the room now, you don't ask permission. You command gravity. You don't chase closure. You are the ending. There's something poetic, isn't there, about the way you turned every no into a knife, every locked door into a blueprint. You became the architect of your own resurrection, and no one saw it coming. You weren't supposed to survive the storm, but now you are the storm. They expected a victim. They got a warlord. They expected apologies. They got silence sharper than any scream. And when they search your eyes now, looking for some trace of the person they thought they knew, they find nothing but mirrors, reflecting their own cowardice. Make no mistake. They will pretend not to notice the fire you walk with. They'll flinch and call it coincidence. They'll claim you changed. But what they really mean is, you stopped needing them. You stopped asking for space. You took it. You stopped softening your footsteps. You stopped asking if your light was too bright. And when you stopped shrinking to fit their comfort, that's when the plot twist hit them like a blade to the throat. Because it wasn't about the fight. It wasn't about who had more power. It was about who was willing to be ruthless enough to become unforgettable. You're not here to be liked. You're not here to be digestible. You're not here to be polite about your pain. You are here to burn through the pages of their expectations. You are here to write a legacy in scars and silence and smoldering rebellion. Every eye that doubted you is now watching in awe. Every hand that pointed and laughed is now shaking in disbelief. Because you are the evidence. You are the living proof that pain doesn't just hurt, It forges. That suffering doesn't just bruise, it brands. And what it branded into you was the word invincible. You didn't just survive what was meant to destroy you. You used it. You learned to wear your wounds like warnings. You learned to see betrayal not as a loss, but as a lesson. They didn't break you, they built you. And now that you've emerged, darker and sharper and more precise than they could have imagined, they're the ones hiding. Because when someone pulls off a twist like you did, it's not just the story that changes, it's the rules of the entire game, and you're no longer playing, you're rewriting it. You see, when you stopped waiting for permission, you started existing on a different frequency, one only the unbroken can hear. The frequency of those who have buried parts of themselves so deeply, they now bloom in places no light reaches. The frequency of those who didn't heal the way books told them to, because they weren't meant to. You didn't follow their script, you tore it up. You forged a voice so raw, so real, it silenced even your demons. And now, you speak with a weight that no one can lift off you. Not because you demand respect, but because you became the kind of person who embodies it. There is a fear they carry now, one they don't speak of. The fear that they were wrong about you. That every label, every dismissal, every joke at your expense was more than cruelty. It was failure. Their failure to recognize greatness before it exploded in their faces. You don't just walk differently now. You exist differently. You're not proving them wrong anymore. That was the old you. Now, you're proving yourself right. That's a whole different animal. That's not revenge. That's evolution. You've become something they have no name for. Something wild. Something holy. Something terrifying. And they will talk about you. Oh yes, they'll tell stories, make up versions of how you did it. But they'll never know the real truth. They'll never know the nights you swallowed grief like glass and still smiled the next morning. They'll never know the way your soul begged for rest while your mind kept sharpening itself like a blade. They'll never see the hours you cried while building the empire they now envy. They'll only see the after and call it luck. But you know the truth, don't you? You know every moment you wanted to give up. Every second your heart felt like it was too heavy to carry. You remember the silence that screamed louder than any enemy. You remember the betrayal, the loneliness, the rage. But instead of letting it poison you, you drank it like fuel. And now, you burn with it. You carry it like a crown of fire. And that fire will never go out, because you are no longer trying to survive. You are conquering. So now, when they say your name, and they will, let them choke on it. Let them taste every mistake they made in underestimating you. Let them wonder how you did it, how you kept rising, how you kept pushing, when every bone in your body begged you to stop. Let them wonder, because you don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe them a single word. Your existence is your answer. Your presence is your proof. And your silence, that's your signature. Because in the end, pulling off a plot twist isn't about the audience, it's about the author. And you, my fierce, blood-soaked phoenix, you took the pen back, you tore the pages out, you bled into the ink, and you wrote something no one can ever erase, not because it was perfect, but because it was true. And that truth, no matter how dark, how twisted, how full of rage and grit and raw survival, that truth is yours, and no one gets to rewrite you again. That era is over. The days of silence, of forced smiles and folded dreams, are dust now, scattered behind you like the bones of who you used to be. They don't get to shape your narrative anymore. Not with their assumptions, not with their absence, not with their guilt-laced advice that always came too late. You're no longer a page in their story. You're the book they weren't qualified to read. And now that you've turned the final chapter of their control, you are writing in a language they'll never understand. One written in pain, in resolve, in rage and resurrection. You see, people love to watch you struggle. They love to marvel at your wounds, but only if they can point at them. Only if your scars entertain them or serve their shallow redemption fantasies. They want your comeback to be clean, palatable, easy to cheer for. But your rise wasn't clean. It was violent. It was chaos stitched into motion. It was nights on the floor, fists clenched, throat raw from screaming into silence. And that is why it matters. Because you didn't walk through fire. You dragged it with you. You fed it with your old self until what emerged from the smoke was unrecognizable. Do you understand what you become? Not just a survivor, not just a fighter. You've become the consequence, the reckoning, the one who never needed a crown to own the throne. They'll act surprised, of course. They'll tilt their heads and say, "You've changed," as if you should apologize for it. But the truth is, they were never watching. If they had been, they would have seen the shift. They would have noticed the tremor in your smile when you finally stopped hoping they'd see you. They would have realized you weren't just breaking down. You were building a weapon. And now, here you stand. Not with clean hands or a soft smile, but with dirt under your nails and blood in your teeth. And alive. Gloriously, defiantly alive. And that's what they can't forgive. That you didn't just survive their abandonment, their ridicule, their silence. You thrived in spite of it. You grew fangs where they expected flowers. You built fortresses where they planted graves. And now they stare at you like they've seen a ghost. But you're not dead. You're just done being quiet. You didn't ask for power. You earned it. Not through privilege or popularity, but through pain, through endurance, through becoming someone who isn't afraid of being alone anymore, because you've already lived in the loneliest places of the soul and decorated them. You've made peace with your shadows, danced with your rage, and stitched your identity from scraps and scars. You didn't need saving. You needed remembering. And once you remembered who you are, no one could ever touch you the same way again. They'll never admit it, but they feel it. The shift, the distance, the cold new space around you that was once filled with their entitlement. They used to take up room in your mind like squatters. Now, they don't even get the key. Because this version of you, the one who rose, doesn't beg anymore, doesn't explain, doesn't shrink. You exist now with an authority that doesn't need approval, doesn't wait for recognition. You are recognition. You are the applause. You are the closed chapter. You are the storm they warned themselves about. And now, it's here. So let them talk. Let them guess how you did it. Let them wonder who helped you, who gave you the courage, who turned the lights on for you in the dark. Because you know the truth. They didn't. No one did. You found the switch yourself. You clawed your way through every lie, every letdown, every dismissal, until you found the truth buried in your chest. And when you pulled it out, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't poetic. It was power. Raw and seething. And you owned it like the crown they tried to convince you didn't deserve. That's the thing about plot twists. They don't require validation. They just require patience, stealth, and fury. And you had all three. You let them underestimate you. You let them write you off. You let them laugh and walk away. And then, when the time was right, you flipped the table, shattered the glass ceiling, and walked out of the fire with a new name, a new mission, a new skin they can't penetrate. Now they're scrambling to rewrite their own stories to include you. Too late. You're already in the sequel. And let's talk about that sequel, because this isn't the end. This is the beginning. The aftermath of your plot twist isn't peace, it's dominion. You're no longer navigating around people who don't see you. You're building empires where they used to build cages. You're shaping futures out of moments they said were meaningless. They thought your pain would end you. It didn't. It forged you. Every time they turned away, it added weight to your wings. Now you don't fly. You soar above them, untouchable. You don't need to haunt them. You don't need revenge. Your existence does that on its own. Your voice, once muted, now echoes in places they thought you'd never reach. Your presence is a reminder that they were wrong, that they missed it, that they failed to break you. And that failure, that's their ghost to carry, not yours. You don't carry ghosts anymore. You carry fire. You carry fury turned into focus. And that's what makes you unstoppable. You're not just moving forward. You're dragging the world with you. You're not chasing dreams now. You're becoming them. You're living in a way that dares others to rise or run. You're living proof that no matter how many times life guts you, you can always stitch yourself back together with thread made of rage and reason. You don't heal like they do. You don't bounce back. You ascend. Every fall you took just made the next climb sharper. Every scar you carry is a spell, a lesson, a mark of power. You don't hide them. You wear them. Proud, terrifying, divine. They'll talk about you for years. Whisper your name like a warning. Tell half-truths and myths to make sense of your glow. But they won't understand it. Because only those who've walked through hell with dry eyes can understand the miracle of your existence. You're not supposed to be here, but you are. And that makes you dangerous. That makes you legendary. You pulled off a plot twist that didn't just rewrite your story, it ripped open theirs. And now, they have to live in the world you built. So, to anyone out there still waiting, still bleeding, still breaking in silence, this is your message. This is your war cry. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for understanding. Become the twist. Be the shock they can't explain. Be the breath that leaves the room. Be the sentence that turns the entire story upside down. You don't need to be saved. You are the saving. And the moment you stop hiding, the world won't be ready, but it'll have no choice but to watch. Because the greatest vengeance is not violence, it's existence. It's walking back into every room they tried to shut you out of and owning it like you were born there. It's breathing when they swore you'd choke. It's standing tall when they only ever saw you on your knees. That's what they'll never forget. That's the twist they'll never recover from. And that's the legacy you're leaving behind. Not of perfection, not of peace, but of power. Ruthless, resilient, unforgettable power. And now that you've tasted it, now that it's in your bloodstream, there is no going back. There is no retreat. There is only the forward march of someone who has died 1,000 silent deaths and still rises, louder, darker, freer each time. You are not done. You are just getting started. And when they try to write you out again, remind them who holds the pen now. You do. So here we are, standing at the edge of what was and staring into what comes next. And you, yes, you, the one they counted out, the one they pushed aside, the one they swore would never make it. You are the ending they never prepared for. You are the storm they tried to outweigh. You are the silence that grew teeth, the shadow that learned to move, the soul that sharpened itself against every closed door and whispered threat. You are not a survivor of their story anymore. You are the author of your own. You pulled off a plot twist they'll never forget. not because you wanted revenge, but because you refused to vanish. You didn't scream for the world to notice. You just rose so loudly in your silence that even the stars turned to listen. And now the world bends around your presence like it was always meant to. You don't chase the light anymore. You are the light, burning with every lesson carved into your flesh, every betrayal etched into your mind. You don't walk away from your past. You drag it behind you like a trophy. So let them talk. Let them flinch. Let them remember how they tried to write you off and learn too late that you were never the side character. You were the twist, the disruption, the reckoning. And every step you take now isn't just movement, it's history. The ones who doubted you will never forget how wrong they were, and the ones who rise after you, they'll use your story as their spark, because you didn't just survive, you changed the ending, forever.